What's the craziest thing you've gotten away with? In college we were required to have an internship for 1 year. Apparently the summer before I started the internship I was supposed to get a letter in the mail with a list of places I could intern at. But I never got the letter. By the time the year started it was too late to get an internship anywhere. It was my senior year, so I didn't have another year to do my internship. So I just made one up. I said I was working with an online literary magazine. I completely faked the evaluations, made up my own work to do, and gave a presentation at the end of the year about my experience. As far as I know, no one suspected anything. My parents, me, and my 2 sisters once escaped through the Iron Curtain in the middle of the night, via a train we were not supposed to be on. From Poland to West Germany, I had no idea what was happening. We all thought we were going on a vacation to Yugoslavia. That's what my parents told everyone, me, my sisters, their parents, friends, family, coworkers, and next thing you know we are in a West German immigration camp. It was a very crazy family journey. We now live in Canada and love it here. I made a huge ducking hole in the wall of my parents' garage. I screwed a pin board in the wall over the top of the hole and no one seemed to question it. Me and wife were on honeymoon in Malaysia. It was Chinese New Year's holiday and we were in Genting Highlands. There was a huge convention center which was hosting a huge Chinese lunch buffet and stage show. Chinese people bought expensive tickets to it. Me and wife went to the bouncer and asked if we could just take a look inside. He said okay, go on. Don't take too much time. We rolled in. It was extravagant and huge and decorated awesomely with food tables on the side with every imaginable Asian food goodie. It was lunchtime and we were hungry. Once the food started serving, we also went with the flow and I had the best original Chinese food in my life. All sorts of goodies. After having a good time, we went through the exit. All this time we were feeling very nervous. Just as we were about to disappear the bouncer called us and said wait. My heart came to my throat. He said, here, have 2 complimentary Chinese oranges for each of you, it's for all the guests. I was like, thank you good sir. Then we disappeared from sight. Junior year of high school. I never turned in an essay that was worth a large percentage of my English grade. When my teacher called me over while she was entering grades into the computer and asked about it, I used my excellent lying skills to act completely confused. Because of course I turned it in. And what was she talking about? Because I had always been an awesome student. She thought it was her fault and that she had lost it. She told me she actually did remember reading it and typed a 95/100 into the online grading system. It must have been one heck of an imaginary essay. Once I was really drunk and closed a 4-lane road with fences from a nearby building site in the middle of the night. A police car came just when I was about to leave and started chasing me. I was on my bike and pedaled away as fast as I could. I had a head start of no more than 30 miles. I made it around the corner and was out of sight of the police car for no more than 4 seconds. I stopped, hid my bike in some bushes, took off my coat, turned around and just started walking towards the police car. The police car just drove past me, noticing me but not understanding I was the same person. I could hear the police car driving through the neighborhood trying to find me, while I just quietly walked away. I returned 2 hours later to retrieve my bike. Really felt like Jason Bourne doing that, and I'm still amazed I came up with this plan and executed it so flawlessly. I don't know if it's crazy, but it's my favorite thing I've gotten away with. I was apartment hunting in LA and found this cottage that I liked pretty well. It was pretty convenient to work, the perfect size, and offered a lot of privacy. The only problem was that the landlady struck me as someone who would make me miserable, and I wasn't all that keen on the actual location. But it was in my budget and I did not have a lot of time to work with, so I signed the lease and gave her half of the deposit, with the agreement that I'd pay the rest of the deposit at move-in. Just by chance, I happened across a Craigslist ad for another place in a much better location that was even more perfect for me, even knowing that I shouldn't. I drove up to see the place and fell in instant love and knew I had to have the place. The question was, how do I get out of the lease without losing my deposit? Based on some of the stuff the landlord had said, even a day late on rent was considered unacceptable, etc. I devised a plan. I called her and confirmed that I'd be moving in on the 1st, but asked if she'd be willing to give me 5 extra days to pay the remainder of the deposit. If she wanted, I said, I'd wait until I'd paid to move in. But with the holidays and everything, I was just a little short of the rest of the money. She was instantly icy and told me no, she wasn't interested in waiting for the deposit. And as a matter of fact, she felt it would be best if I just picked up the deposit I'd already left and cancelled the lease. So I did exactly that and moved into my dream place instead. Back in the early 90s, when I was 19, 20, I made and sold fake IDs. New Jersey driver's licenses were super low tech, and it was easy to make good quality fakes with consumer grade technology. At the time, they finally updated them to make them more secure just a few years ago. Large foam core replica of the license for people to stand in front of, the lettering for their name and address done by inkjet and glued on with rubber cement so it could be easily peeled off and replaced with the info of the next customer. Take a Polaroid, cut it out, put a duplicate back on it. The hologram was a light dusting of gold spray paint applied through a stencil. Laminate, cut out and round the corners. Bob's your uncle. I knew female customers could just flirt their way past a suspicious bouncer, but for my male customers I also made selective service cards they could provide as backup, which had funny info identical to their fake license. No idea what they look like now, but the cards back then had green printing, with the person's info in black ink, and no photo. I didn't have a color printer, so I blew out a black ink cartridge and refilled it with green ink using a syringe. I had to run a piece of cardstock through my printer 4 times, once for each side and each color, and then cut it out. Too long, didn't read forgery of state and federal documents. I snuck a bottle of water past German security in Frankfurt last year. That's actually close to ducking impossible. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm a wanted criminal now. When I was in 8th grade, my school had nature trails and secret paths in the woods behind the school. No students were allowed in there, so naturally, the woods were packed with kids during lunch. One day, I was wearing a red jacket with a blue shirt underneath, and was walking through the woods. Then, a dean rounds the bend about 100 yards in front of me and sees me cause of my red jacket. He yells something at me, and I take off running towards the school. This particular dean had it out for me and my friends for some unknown reason, so I knew my punishment would be harsh if I got caught. One, I was within a maze of portables. I rounded a corner and took off my jacket and threw it under the portable. Then I whipped out my UGIO and started pretending like I was playing with some 7th graders who were sitting on the ground and who saw the whole thing. About 30 seconds later, the dean rounds the corner and almost overlooks me, but then tries to take me to the office. The kids I were playing with started yelling back at him, saying how I was here the whole time and some other kid with a red jacket ran through there a second ago. So the dean kinda looks at me for a second, then runs towards where we said to go. Those kids are amazing. Sort of boring, but I gave my entire college class an extra week to work on a 12-page paper that I had forgotten about. The professor had a lot of classes, and he really liked me, so when I reminded him that he had told us the paper wasn't due for another week, he bought it. Of course, one of the goody two-shoes in the class tried to correct me, but everyone around her shut her up. I once stole a Pain AU chocolate from Sainsbury's. It was in the same bag as a croissant, and I told the self-service checkout about the croissant, then had to put the bag in the bagging area. The machine was none the wiser. I sauntered out of there like a methodica, running through the jungle to escape Vietnamese guards who were intending to turn us in for trying to climb Mountain Phan Xipang, highest peak in Indochina, without a permit. Either that or hitting a man with a cheeseburger while driving 45 miles per hour. Back in the 90s, when everyone had dial-up internet, phone sex and psychic hotlines ran credit cards in batches long after the call was over. The only thing they verified beforehand was that the card number was valid. Validity was determined by computer software that would check for certain requirements, like the first 4 digits matching the card issuer and some algorithm that was used to generate card numbers that was also used in those days for verifying them. There was a program called CCWIZ for Windows 3.1 that would extrapolate a bunch of fake numbers from any real one by using this algorithm, and the fake numbers would work on these hotlines. In fact, I'm pretty sure you could have done much more illegal things like shopping with overnight shipping, but that would have been a good way to wind up in jail, or at least juvenile hall. I was 12 at the time. I used to bring knives to school. Not because I wanted to stab anyone, but I just carry knives around and would forget. I realize now with how serious they are about weapons in schools, I could have gotten in a lot of trouble. While at a wedding, I drunkenly climbed onto the roof of the bar we were at and stole a shingle. I then proceeded to take the shingle back into the bar, place it on the seat next to me, and call it my new drinking buddy. I faked my bachelor's degree and yet successfully enrolled in a master's program, currently in my second term with mostly A grades. I got hit by a train and walked out of the hospital only 7 hours later. I got away with being struck by a train. How's the train doing? When I was 17 or 18 years old, I was in Germany with some friends. We were drinking at a bar and after that we went back to our camping site. On the way back to the camping site we wanted to take a traffic sign. So I hopped on someone's shoulders and start unscrewing the traffic sign. Then one of my friends says that he saw a police car passing us by. So we started running away and I ran away from my friends and hid in the bushes. The cops came back and started searching for us in the bushes I was in with flashlights and everything. I could see their shoes since I was looking down. After 5 minutes or so they drove off. That was also the quickest I went from drunk to sober because of all the adrenaline. Too long, didn't read, got drunk, wanted to take a traffic sign home, cops drove by, hid in the bushes, never got caught. Not really the craziest thing I've done, but I got out of a speeding ticket about 15 over by telling the cop that I was just excited to see my brother again, since he just got back from deployment. Some people will say that was pretty scummy of me to lie about, but for something I came up with while the cop was walking to my car, I thought it was pretty good. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.